I don't know if you've experienced this, but at the beginning of every single year and the end of every single year, it feels like there is a war going on in my mind. And that war that I'm experiencing is the chaos, the gap between where I am and who I want to be. And I find that I really struggle with that dilemma. And I struggle to compensate for the difference between who I am and all the things I said I was going to do throughout a year, and the gap of actually, I am this person and this is what I have achieved in this year. And oftentimes the gap is bigger than I'd like it to be. And that gap over the course of the last few years has been getting smaller and smaller and smaller. I'm not saying that I've reached whatever it is that I want to be, but what I can say is that I feel like I am getting closer. And I believe that these are the 5 things that have truly helped me move and bridge the gap of chaos between who I am now and who I want to be. And these 5 things are fairly simple, but they're really difficult to do. And I've always found them incredibly difficult in my life. And I felt like the motivation behind them has not always been healthy, but these are still the practices that we as people need to develop in order for us to grow and move forward in our lives. My name is Kyle. I am a business consultant. I'm a youth leader. I work in coaching as well, but truthfully, all of this encompassed, the only thing that really matters to me is that I am helping and empowering people to live with purpose and freedom. And I'm truly and genuinely passionate about doing it in 3 capacities: in their faith, in their wealth, and in their overall health. I want to ensure that people are living lives where they are genuinely winning in every single area of their lives. There are 5 things that matter when it comes to progress. 5 things, that's it. The first thing that matters, just do the thing. I think we need to come to a point in our minds. If you're going to make progress, you just have to decide to do it. Just do the thing. Whatever it is, whether it be going to the gym, whether it be working harder at work, whether it be trying to accomplish a specific hobby, whether it be trying to overcome an addiction, whether it be trying to plug in deeper into your spirituality and exploring that side of yourself, just do the thing. And when I say do the thing, I don't mean jump into it wholeheartedly, or don't jump into it with absolutely all of your gusto and then 2 weeks later you burn out. Choose something that you can achievably do consistently over the course of a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and just stick to it. Whether it be you want to make or start, whether you want to make something, whether you want to start learning how to play an instrument, whatever it is. If you want to make progress, the only way that I have found that has worked is you choose to do it. You sit down, you decide what small step can I take every single day that will move me towards being able to do this thing, or being that kind of a person, or knowing this type of thing, or having that type of skill. The only way that you will get there is if, one step at a time, you decide to take a small, consistent, achievable step towards the thing that you want to accomplish. An example of this is when I was learning guitar. For a long time while I was learning to play the guitar, I really struggled to actually get into it, because what I would do is, for a Saturday, I would play for 3 hours and my fingers would start to bleed. 4, 5, 6 hours on a Saturday. But then the entirety of the week, I would just not play it at all, because I was too busy, I was too tired, I had too many things going on, I had to be there, I had to do this. And truthfully, those excuses are not really real, because I was still watching TV, I was still like sitting on my iPad scrolling for however many hours. But now the reality is, the only way that I actually started to learn how to play the guitar was when I decided that for 20 minutes a day, I would just practice the same thing until I could do it. 20 minutes a day, I learned to play this scale. 20 minutes today, I learned to play this group of chords. 20 minutes a day, I would learn this key of chords: the 1, the 3rd, the 5th, the 1, the 4th, the 5th, how to play it, how to play them in different sequences, understanding things. But 20 minutes a day over the course of 3 weeks did me better than 6 hours on a Saturday and then 6 hours the next Saturday, because in between that gap, I forgot everything. My fingers weren't getting practiced. I didn't understand how to do it. Sure, maybe if I did the 6 hours and then the consistent 20 minutes and then 6 hours, that would have been awesome. But the only way I really found it was achievable and I stopped making excuses was when I said 20 minutes a day and that's all it takes. And 20 minutes really isn't a lot of time, but it really helps you make progress. And over time, you can increase your intensity, but it's quite important that you start with something that's achievable in your mind and then you ramp up your consistency. And before you start your next product or your next thing, it's quite important that you just finish it. Finish the thing. And that leads us to the next point, which is focus. Just focus. I am as ADHD as it gets. I like to start projects. I like to do the next thing. Immediately, my mind's jumping 20 years into the future and it sees just how amazing this incredible thing can be. And then I start full-hearted and then I just bomb out completely. But I've only found that I make genuine progress towards something and towards the things that matter to me when I can say to myself, is this a project that's moving me closer towards my ultimate goals, or is it just a distraction? And we have to learn to distinguish between the two before we can actually make the progress that we want to make. I mean, even this YouTube video, it's the first of a series and it's the first of me actually just getting started. It's probably going to suck. That's fine. Everything about the way that we do these things is just a step towards the right direction, making sure that it's building something onto it. And so we make commitments to ourselves and we say, I'm just going to focus on this thing. If we go back to the guitar example, if we want to make progress in learning that instrument, we have to say to ourselves, these are the specific skills that I want to learn. You know how easy it is to play the instrument and want to learn something new on it. But when you start playing the instrument in your practice time, you just default to playing the things you already know how to play. It's so easy for us to do that in our minds, and we can do it in literally every single area of our lives. We do it in our business and in our work. We do it in our ministry. We do it in our faith. We do it in our friendships and in our relationships. We default back to what our natural settings are. We default back to what we have already learned, and then we waste the time where we could have been intentionally learning something new just because there's a little bit of pain in that learning. And so if you're going to make progress, you need to focus on intentionally taking those steps each and every single time. So you're just going to start, you're just going to do the thing, but you actually really truly need to focus on it so that you can make that progress. Otherwise, you're never going to get there. We're never going to get there if we're constantly jumping from one thing to the next thing, to the next project, to the next song, because then you'll only have half the songs or half the chords or half the learning that you need in order to have the full skill, whether it be coding, whether it be sales, whether it be in leading people, whatever it is, whatever sphere of life. If you only learn half the skill, you'll only ever have half the skill, and then you'll only ever practice in the half that you already know and never stretch yourself to what actually matters and gets you to the point where you're now making progress. And so not only do you need to make those 20 minutes of incremental, consistent improvements every single day, they need to be focused and they need to be moving forward. They need to be in the space that you don't know how to do it yet. That's what it looks like to have progress. Every time that we take a step towards something, it needs to be intentional, it needs to be directed, but it also needs to be focused. The third thing that we need to start looking at is risk. If you want to make progress, sometimes it means you need to take risks. We were speaking about that uncomfortable space, the uncomfortable space in focus, where it says, I need to stretch myself towards the thing that I don't yet know how to do. The reality of anything in life is that not a single one of us are qualified to do any of the stuff that we are doing. None of us know what we're doing, and none of us started knowing what we are doing. The only way we've ever gotten to the point where we know how to do something is by stepping into a space where we don't know how to do something and then doing it and figuring it out on the spot. We do it in our studies, we do it in business, we do it in big deals, we do it in every little skill that we learn, we have to learn to take a risk towards the thing that matters most in that space and in that moment. And so if we're going to grow, if we're going to move, if we're going to learn, if we're going to actually make progress towards the person we want to be and towards the goals we want to achieve, we have to say to ourselves, I need to step outside of what I can do right now. That is all that risk is. Risk is stepping outside of who you are right now and saying, I am not ready for this, but I can be if I stay in this space long enough. We need to sit in that discomfort so that we can move towards that ultimate goal of progress. However, when you're looking at risk, you're most likely going to make a lot of mistakes along the way. It's quite important that you not only allow yourself to reflect upon what you're doing. So for example, say you do a video, or say you do a speech, or say you speak publicly for the first time, or you actually have a concert and you play on platform with your guitar. Whatever it is that you want to do, whatever it is that you want to achieve, you need feedback. You need people to tell you what you suck at, really. That's all that it really comes down to. You let people tell you what you suck at. That's what it looks like to get feedback. And the key to feedback is being able to listen to it. If you're unable to listen to feedback, you'll never grow. You'll never know where your gaps are. You'll never know where your mistakes are. You'll live in the delusion that you're better than everybody else and that you're perfect and that you know what you're doing. Whereas a matter of fact, you probably don't know what you're doing. None of us know what we're doing. But there's a second part to feedback, and that's giving feedback to yourself, which means that you're reflecting upon your actions. You're reflecting upon how you do things. You're reflecting upon the effect that it had, the influence that it had, how well it was done. We have to look at it and say, does this meet my standard of expectation and excellence? And if it does, great. Then you ask people to tell you where you suck, and you'll probably raise your own bar doing that. But secondly, you need to say to yourself, this wasn't great. Maybe it was great, and how can I learn from why it was great? But we have to reflect upon everything that we do. And the two ways that I find that we should reflect and the questions that we should ask, the first is, what was good about this? And the second is, what was bad about this? We don't need to overcomplicate reflection. We don't have to sit there and hum and meditate on it for days and say, I'm a horrible, terrible person and I don't deserve the world. And so how it is that I can have this piece of knowledge dropped into my mind? No, you just need to ask those two questions. How was this good? How was this bad? And then you ask one last question, which is, how do I make it better? That's it. Those are the only questions you ask when you reflect on something. It's not about your character. It's not about who you are as a person. It's simply about the thing itself that you did. And saying to yourself, I'm not yet as good as I'd like to be, but I want to make progress. So that's feedback. The last thing is accountability. Accountability is not the same thing as feedback. Feedback is somebody telling you how to do something and showing you how it is that you can improve, while accountability is somebody coming alongside you when you don't feel like doing it. Doing something publicly and doing it with genuine ultimate risks where you can fail is probably the only way that you will actually do it. We need urgency and we need consequence in order for us to actually grow. If we don't have urgency and we don't have consequence, we won't do it. It's just the fact of human nature. We ourselves hold ourselves to a lower standard than other people hold us to. And so naturally, the best way for us to grow is to allow other people to impose their standards of us onto us so that we can raise our own standards. And so the only way that we will ever see where we're not doing well is by letting other people who are better than us, who are ahead of us, into our lives, hold us accountable to the things we say we are going to do, and then we do it. And then we get feedback. Then we take risks and we sit and we focus and we just do the thing. Just do the thing.